the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.
Darkness had already blanketed the forest as I began my solitary shift at the Firewatch Tower. An ordinary night, or so I thought, in the remote wilderness of California, where the world seems to fall silent and the stars take center stage. I'm the eyes and ears here, tasked with watching over this vast expanse of woodland, my solitary post perched atop a towering structure, a beacon amidst the trees. The forest, it has a rhythm, a nocturnal cadence that lulls the senses. Owls hooting, the rustle of leaves as nocturnal creatures go about their business. It's a symphony I've come to know and expect, but tonight the forest was playing a different tune. A hush hung over the trees, the usual hum of life strangely absent. Then it began. Sounds, unfamiliar and out of place, echoed through the silent woods. At first I dismissed it. A deer perhaps, or a fox. But no, this was different. It was a low drone, a reverberation that seemed to come from the very heart of the forest, a sound that was felt more than heard. I tried to shake off the unease, attributing it to the loneliness and isolation, but the sounds persisted. A rustle here, a crack there, the distant echo of what sounded like whispers carried on the wind. The forest was speaking, but in a language I did not understand. The hair on the back of my neck stood up, a primal instinct warning of something not quite right. The forest was alive, not with its usual nocturnal life, but with something else. An energy, a presence that didn't belong. I could feel it, like the static charge before a storm, a palpable tension that made the air thick and heavy. The moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced and twisted between the trees. The sounds grew louder, closer. It was no animal. It was something else. I stepped out onto the tower balcony, my eyes straining to penetrate the inky darkness. The night was unusually still, the usual symphony of nocturnal creatures oddly muted. A sense of unease began to creep in, like an unwelcome guest. The distant crackling of twigs and the whispering leaves were the only sounds breaking the silence. It was as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting for something. With a deep breath, I decided to confront the unknown. I grabbed my trusted flashlight, my only source of comfort in this sea of obscurity, and descended from the safety of my tower. The forest floor felt different under my boots, the familiar crunch of leaves replaced by an unsettling squish. Every shadow seemed to be a lurking figure, every rustle a predatory creature, every silence a calm before the storm. As I ventured deeper into the forest, my flashlight caught something unusual. Etched into the bark of the towering pines were symbols, strange and cryptic. They were not the work of nature nor man. The shapes were too deliberate, too alien. My heart pounded in my chest like a wild drum, echoing the dread that was slowly consuming me. I reached out, my hands trembling, to touch the symbols. The bark was oddly cold, almost icy. The symbols were rough against my fingertips, their edges sharp and jagged. Each symbol seemed to tell a tale, a chilling narrative of things beyond human comprehension. The moment my fingers made contact, a gust of wind howled through the forest, raw and bone-chilling. It echoed among the trees, carrying whispers of things unseen and unheard. The temperature dropped instantly, my breath forming smoky tendrils in the frigid air, and then my flashlight flickered once, twice, before dying completely. The darkness was absolute, an impenetrable curtain that swallowed everything in its path. My heart raced, pounding a frantic tattoo against my ribs. The silence of the forest was shattered by the eerie rustling of leaves, a sinister symphony that crescendoed with each passing second. As I traced the symbols with my fingers, a bone-chilling gust of wind blew through the forest, extinguishing my flashlight. The forest held me prisoner in its chilling grip, the eerie symbols my only companion in the terrifying darkness. Plunged into darkness, my heartbeat echoed in my ears like a war drum. The tranquility of the forest was shattered, replaced with an orchestra of unexplained sounds. The rustling of leaves, the creaking of branches, the whispers of the wind, all seemed to close in around me. It was as if the forest itself had come alive, its breath hot and heavy on my neck. In my panic, I fumbled with the flashlight, its cold metal slipping through my clammy hands. The blackness was oppressive, a tangible blanket of fear that threatened to swallow me whole. My breath hitched in my throat as I finally managed to switch the flashlight back on, the beam of light slicing through the darkness like a lifeline, but what it revealed was far from reassuring. Ghostly apparitions materialized amongst the trees, their forms as fleeting as the wind that whistled through the leaves. Their presence was almost ethereal, a chilling reminder of the forest's hidden secrets. They flickered in and out of existence like candle flames dancing in the breeze, their movements unpredictable and erratic. The apparitions were vaguely human in shape, but their features were distorted, their bodies twisted and warped in a way that defied nature. Their wispy forms seemed to absorb the light, casting eerie shadows that danced and swirled around them. They moved silently through the undergrowth, their feet barely touching the ground. As I watched, frozen in place, the apparitions turned to face me. Their eyes, hollow and empty, glowed ominously in the dark. The sight was enough to send a shiver down my spine, a feeling of dread that settled in my stomach like a stone. Their gaze was unblinking, unyielding, a silent challenge in the face of my fear. The forest was silent once more, the only sound my ragged breathing and the pounding of my heart in my chest. The ghosts of the forest had made their presence known, their ethereal forms a stark contrast to the solid, tangible trees that surrounded us. I was not alone in this forest. I never had been. I froze as the apparitions turned to face me, their hollow eyes glowing in the dark. I could feel my blood turning ice cold as the apparitions began to approach. The night was thick with an eerie silence, a silence so profound that it felt almost like a living entity, a grotesque parody of tranquility. The air around me was dense with a bone-chilling cold, a cold that was not of this world. My heart pounded in my chest like a frantic drummer, each beat a sharp reminder of the terror that was closing in on me. The ghostly figures, their forms shimmering in the spectral light of the moon, were growing closer and closer, their hollow eyes boring into mine. The feeling of being watched, of being hunted, had never been so palpifying. A sense of impending doom washed over me. It was as if I was on the precipice of a precipitous abyss, teetering on the edge of oblivion. The shadows of the trees around me seemed to dance in a grotesque ballet, their twisted forms echoing the terror that was bubbling up within me. In the face of such otherworldly fear, I found the courage to try and communicate. "Who are you?" My voice, usually so strong and steady, trembled, barely a whisper in the wind, but they remained silent, their focus never leaving me, their gaze never wavering. It was as if they were waiting, biding their time, their silence a testament to the inexplicable horror of this otherworldly presence. The moon cast long, grotesque shadows that seemed to rise and fall with each passing moment. The wind howled through the trees, carrying with it the whispers of the damned. My senses were heightened. Every gust of wind, every rustle of leaves, every creak of the wooden tower I was standing on, amplified in the deafening silence. As the night wore on, the apparitions remained, their silence becoming more and more oppressive, their presence more and more suffocating. The terror was a tangible thing now, a living entity that seemed to feed off my fear. Then, in a voice that sounded like the rustling of dry leaves, one of them spoke. The words echoed through the forest, a whisper carried by the wind, an ethereal chorus of voices, each sharing a tale of their own, their words cryptic, ominous, and chilling to the bone. Our lone firewatcher, standing still amidst the towering trees, strained his ears to decipher the spectral language. His heart pounded like a frantic drum, the rhythm of fear. His mind spun, a whirlwind of confusion and dread. The shadows seemed to dance, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. They were not just sounds anymore, they were pulling him, an invisible force, towards the phantom figures. His feet moved of their own accord, drawn into the spectral waltz. The forest held its breath, the air heavy with anticipation. The whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar, the apparitions converged, and then silence. A darkness descended, as if the forest had swallowed the moon. Then everything went black. Was this the end or just the beginning?
Hit the subscribe button if you don't want me to come at night.